always loved camping. Not the family kind where everyone's laughing around a fire, but the kind where you're alone with nature. The silence, the smell of pine, the sound of water hitting the shore. That was what drew me to Eagle Lake, a remote camping ground deep in the Montana woods. It wasn't a popular site. In fact, most of the reviews online warned about how quiet it was. That's what I liked. Quiet. I arrived late in the evening, right before sunset. The light reflected off the water like molten gold. I parked my truck, unloaded my tent, and made a small fire. There were no other campers in sight. Just rows of pine trees surrounding the lake like dark guards. Around 10 p.m., the air became freezing cold. The kind of cold that doesn't feel natural. I put on another layer and sat by the fire. Then I heard it. A splash. It wasn't close. Maybe somewhere near the middle of the lake. But it was loud. Too loud to be a fish. I stood up and looked out across the dark surface. But all I could see were faint ripples fading into the mist. I told myself it was nothing. I was just being paranoid, but when I crawled into my tent and zipped it up, the sound came again, this time closer. Splash. It was as if something huge had stepped into the lake, 1 foot at a time. And then came the breathing. Slow, wet, deep. I froze. It lasted about a minute, then stopped. The silence after that was unbearable. I didn't sleep that night. The next morning, I walked down to the lake to check. That's when I saw the footprints. Huge, uneven prints, half in the mud, half leading into the water. They looked human, but stretched, like someone had taken a normal footprint and dragged it forward. My first thought was a bear, but bears don't walk on 2 feet that long. I took a few photos with my phone, then decided to pack up early. Something didn't feel right. But while I was folding my tent, I heard a faint humming sound coming from the trees. It wasn't mechanical. It sounded organic, like someone whispering through a broken throat. When I turned, I saw something between the trees. Tall, still, watching. It was gray, its shape blending into the mist. When I blinked, it was gone. That night, I couldn't bring myself to leave. It was getting dark, and driving that old mountain road in pitch black would be suicide. So I stayed, but I kept the fire burning all night. At around 2 a.m., I heard footsteps circling my tent. Slow, wet footsteps. It stopped at my door flap. I could hear it breathing again. I grabbed my flashlight and unzipped the tent in one motion. There was nothing there, just footprints leading back toward the lake. By the third day, I hadn't slept properly. I decided to leave as soon as the sun rose. But before dawn, something woke me. The lake was moving. The water rippled violently, even though there was no wind. Then something massive rose from the center. At first, it looked like a tree trunk, but it kept rising, taller than any man. Then it tilted its head, and I saw eyes. 2 white, hollow eyes that reflected my campfire from across the lake. It made a low, guttural sound, like a drowning moan mixed with a growl. I ran. I didn't bother to pack anything. As I sprinted toward my truck, I could hear it coming out of the water. Every step shook the ground like something dragging itself with weight it shouldn't have. I turned the key, and the engine screamed to life. My headlights caught the thing's reflection one last time. Tall, drenched, head cocked at a strange angle, staring at me. When I reached the main road, I didn't stop driving for 2 hours. I never told anyone. When I went back online weeks later, the campground's listing was gone. Just an error message. Location unavailable.